Hey everyone, hope all is well for today. So we have a lot to cover. We're going to go over a little bit of the Senate strategy, but before we get there, I want to talk about um, some natural PTSD remedies because that has been um, a question that comes up in the community a lot. So I want to show you just some stuff that I use that I know other members use in our community that we also have on our Amazon influencer store. So you guys can access that if you need to. But I want to talk about one of my favorites, which are essential oil nasal inhalers. So I'll show you guys how to use them too. If you end up liking this and you want to try it, you can get it through Amazon on our page, and I'll direct you guys there in a second. But I want to show you how to use these because these are my favorite, and like a lot of you guys actually use them. And so I figured for those of you who don't deal with like anxiety and depression, these are great. So there's different scents that you can use for different reasons, and yeah, like the lighting, it's like really hard to see, but if they're nasal inhalers, blow your nose, and if your nose is stuffy, but what you do, this one's an anxiety one, so let's do this one. I have one for like depression, one for anxiety. So generally clean them, don't share them with people. I keep mine in the fridge because I like to keep them nice and cold. But if you can see, yeah, it's hard with the lighting, but there's a little like nasal inhaler. So what you do is you'll cover one side of your nose and then you'll breathe like inhale, right? Hold your breath and then let it out. Then I do the same thing once on the other side. Let it out. Like really that simple. Natural remedy. Clean it off. You'll put it back away, and then you can put it back in your fridge. But it's nice for like a quick stress reliever, and it's natural. So it's amazing. I use them pretty often. I have a bunch of them. Sometimes when I'm leaving for the day, I'll carry one in my purse, have one on hand with me, keep some, like sometimes if I'm going to take a shower and I'm just stressed out, like before I get in the shower, but I generally try to keep them in the fridge whenever I'm home. So when I get back from the day, I'll take it out my purse, put it back in the fridge, and keep it nice and just cool and it helps it last longer and helps it stay stronger. But that's a natural essential oil remedy. I use essential oils a lot. I also have a diffuser, and I know that's something that a lot of you have also. I use that during the day. I will show you that on another video and how to work that. That's helpful. I use that a lot at night to help me with nightmares. I just want to show you how to get to the page. So if you go to mstmovement.org, brand partnerships, you will see the Amazon influencer tab. You'll scroll down, click on MSTM Amazon, and now you'll see our store, right? And you'll see all of the MSTM favorites that have been compiled by just community members and volunteers. And these are just everybody's favorites for PTSD management. It's all like natural supplements, natural remedies. You can see like there's smudge sticks, there's candles, there's a diffuser. I have that one specifically. I know some of you have it too. So it's a really great one. You put those essential oils in it. There's some books about PTSD on there. Yeah, this is also like if you want like a hand roller, like for essential oils, you can put them on your body if you want to. I tend to like the inhalers the best. Let me just see where they are on here. Like there's anxiety relief tea. I pretty much have a lot of these products. Oh, here you go. So here's the nasal sprays, nasal inhalers for aromatherapy. that you can have. They come in packs of 3. Totally my favorites. Like one of my favorites natural PTSD remedies. I love them. So I get them all the time. So that's just for you guys to know about. In case you're looking for a way to have quick relief without having to take medication all the time, because anti-anxieties could be really addictive. However, I still take those and I have severe anxiety. So these are just other ways to really help you cope without having to have to always go to medicine. Like medicine's my last resort when nothing else is really working. Some vitamins, some different medications, some roll-ons for your skin. The smudge sticks, a lot of you guys like the smudge sticks. I use those too. The smudge sticks and the diffusers, candles. Candles are great. Smudging. This has a lot stronger of a scent, but it definitely helps with relieving anxiety when you're stressed and you just need to calm down. So these are just really affordable, cheap options to help manage anxiety in a natural way that you get from PTSD. Sometimes there's some like depression relief ones too, because that happens a lot with PTSD. I'm just looking for the diffuser. Oh yeah, here you go. So this is the diffuser that I have. I really like it. It changes color. The diffuser works really well. But this one is, you fill it with water, then you put drops of different aromatherapy in it. And normally I put it by my bed at night to help me go to sleep, so I relax and I don't have crazy nightmares, because that happens to me a lot. So these are all just different things you can do, but these are all like community MSTM community favorites. So those are awesome options for you if you're looking for ways to manage your PTSD, but looking for natural options before having to go to medication. Because like you have a little bit of anxiety or you're out and like you just need to tone down a little bit. So you can use a natural remedy and it will help. So I just wanted to share that with everyone because I keep getting questions about that. And we have that resource available for you guys. Also, I want to get into a lot of other stuff, right? The I Am Vanessa Guillen Act Senate strategy, we emailed that out last night. The idea with the Senate strategy in and of itself is that we have a specific strategy. Obviously, we need the Senate Armed Forces Committee to vote in favor of the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act in order for it to pass and hit the floor. And even for that to happen, we have to have certain people's buy-in in the Senate for it to actually pass. So for those of you who are familiar with MJA, like you know that MJA has repeatedly failed every time it was about to hit the Senate floor. And fan favorite Mitch McConnell normally has blocked that from happening. So we have to signal overwhelming support in order to create pressure on him, but also get it to move through the committee and to get enough support on the Senate floor. So we have a key strategy that we're using that has 3 priority levels. We sent out priority level 1 and 2 last night. So we're going to start working on those strategies. So for those of you who need support with that, definitely let us know, because this is, game on. Like this is the time that we really have to get up and running for the Senate strategy. Saturday, join our call. We're going to do an advanced training class on that. So make sure you sign up for that. And let's talk about why MSTM is working with Congress. So a couple of different things. I'm going to just explain to you how a bill becomes a law, because I don't know how many of you actually know that. This is like going back to like elementary school, middle school, and I don't think, you leave school and then we don't go over it anymore. So let's just talk about how a bill becomes a law. There's multiple avenues in a way that a bill can become a law. And generally, when a citizen brings in a law, a citizen's resolution or a citizen's bill, that's part of democracy. So the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act, right, that bill would be considered a citizen's bill that was brought by a family, right, which is the Guillen family, who wanted to put a bill forward. Then what happens is they will go and speak to their senator, their Congress people, and then they'll refer them out to, in this case, the House Armed Forces Committee and the Senate Armed Forces Committee, because that's where the bills would have to hit first. So then when it gets to that point, now you have elected officials who, when they decide to take on the bill, there's a lot of factors that they will look at, which is the viability, the ability for it to get passed, the ability to gain support, gaining the key organizations that can lobby and do support. So there's a lot of different things an elected official has to do, which then will happen is when you have a lot of public interest and support for change, you're going to have representatives in each committee who are going to want to put a bill through, but now they need to reach out to key organizations for their input, and they're going to need to talk to different organizations about strategies, viabilities, changes, and the impacted community. So we're one of those organizations that, the House Armed Forces Committee and the Senate Armed Forces Committee would be interested in talking to. We have a large survivor base. We have all veterans who've been impacted by MST. We have a history of working on laws and passing them, and we have a community that's been impacted that we're educated on, and we have information on this. So we're one of those organizations that the committees would look to talk to before putting a bill through, before even like structuring and creating the bills. So that's what we did like throughout the summer. And there would be other organizations that they would do the same with, to different extents. Then what happens at that point is, once a bill is written and put into function, so like I'm going to give you an example of some of the key aspects of NERA that are in the IAVGA bill. We wanted a 72-hour mandatory reporting time to investigation. We wanted annual reporting to go to the House Armed Forces Committee and the Senate Armed Forces Committee. The ability for the Joint Chiefs of Staff to also receive those reports, but that the committees would be the overall ones to be able to make the changes, that they would be the ultimate reporting level for what would happen, and that the public would receive these same reports. We wanted also SARP to get dissolved, and we wanted universal training standards. We wanted CE licensing, and we wanted one training regulatory authority that would regulate across the board. And we also wanted disciplinary actions for individuals who fail to do that. And we wanted independent reporting out of the chain of command, and that it would the ability for it to be confidential. So those are all like key pieces of what we had in NERA that are now going into the IAVGA Act. So then what happens is, after these members of Congress and their staffers, talk to us, meet with us, and meet with other organizations, they will now go back to the family with the bill, right? The family or the citizens who want to put the bill together. Sometimes it's individuals, sometimes it's groups, right? Like our group, our organization wants NERA, but there's public support for IAVGA, and now it's like, okay, why don't we merge all of this, put it together, package it, bring it to the family, and hey, are you okay with this bill, right? Family says, yeah, that's great. Now Congress and their staffers come back, they'll come back to the organizations. This is what we've put together. Here's the bill. Here's what it is. What do you guys think? Are you willing to support it or not? And then a discourse happens from there. Okay, here's our areas of contention. Here's some of the areas of concern. This is what else we were looking for. And then there's a dialogue that takes place. Now, what then happens is, once everyone gets what they want, Congress now has to put this bill forward in their committees, right? So the senator and House of Rep that are putting this forward, they each have to get buy-in from the committee. Just because there's public support doesn't mean that the committee will necessarily get buy-in. And then it has to go to the floor to pass. So how does that happen? Well, the sponsors, which are the offices, the senator and House of Reps, like Jackie Spears' office, they have to work with organizations that have the ability to lobby, which would be, in our case, MSTM. So when it comes to non-for-profits that are in the political non-for-profit space, that have a specialty related to MST, we are the only ones that are fall under the IRS C4 regulations for unlimited lobbying. That is how we're structured. So people who donate to us don't get tax deductions, where, let's say, for instance, like Protect Our Defenders, they're a C3. So when people donate, they can write that off on their taxes. However, if they engage in lobbying efforts or direct lobbying efforts, they have to file certain forms with the IRS, and they can only limit a certain amount of their activities to lobbying, and they have to report that to the IRS. Whether or not organizations and C3s do that, that's not my business. They're supposed to do that. So when you're Congress and you're someone who's sponsoring a bill related to sexual violence in the military, to be on the safe side, you're going to work with a C4 that can do unlimited lobbying that has survivors. And in our case, we have 20,000 registered survivors of the MST. And we can do unlimited lobbying via the IRS regulations without any penalties at all, because we disclose on our website, we disclose in our emails, we disclose on everything that we lobby Congress, we lobby elected officials to overturn laws that protect survivors of military sexual trauma. So whenever we're working on legislation, we'll disclose what the legislation is that we're working on. And in this case, right now, we're working with Congress on the IAVGA Act to lobby and get it passed. So that is how we got involved in the direct strategy, because that's where we are in that space. Then not only is the C4 space really small, but then on top of it, the compliance C4 space is even more narrow. A lot of organizations that do C4 filings don't do them correctly, right? And they don't do any of their stuff correctly. So that presents like another risk. In our case, all our stuff is lined up. We're good to go. We're set up. Our infrastructure is set up. We have the survivors. We are registered C4 to do unlimited lobbying for bills. This aligns with our community, and it's in the best interest of our community. So what happens? We agree on the bill. We partner with Congress. Now we're working on lobbying efforts, and that's how MSTM got involved. So I want to explain this to make this clear, because I don't think a lot of you really understand this, is that we're working independently within our own organization to work with Congress to get this bill passed. We're not working directly with the family. We're not working with other organizations. Like, we don't need to do that, because our mission and our purpose is to protect survivors of military sexual trauma. And that's what we're registered to do with the IRS. So the thing about it is, like, we don't have to really do anything else. It's just when it comes to a bill that we want to support, we have the ability to support that, right? And obviously, when these bills got structured, the fact that it does have a lot of MIRA and the bills that we've been lobbying for in them, it incentivizes us to work on this bill. So just because we're doing the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act, that does not create an association that, you know, we're doing this directly for the family, or that we're working directly with the family. We're working independently as MSTM, as we always have done, and we're working with Congress. And the reason that we're working on this bill is because it benefits most of the 20,000 of us, right? Like, it doesn't benefit all of us, and that's why we'll work on other legislation in the future. But it does benefit a lot of us, and it does protect the future generation, right? And it does implement changes for the future. So it does benefit our community to push this bill forward and to take the lead on the lobbying efforts, which you guys have done a great job on. So I want to just tell you thank you. We appreciate your support and everything you're doing, but I also want to explain that just because we're lobbying and we're leading the lobbying efforts doesn't mean that we're associated with anyone in particular. It's just we're put in this position because of who we are, you know, the type of bill that it is, the type of organization that we are, the infrastructure and the resources that we have, and it just made us the right match to work with Congress. It made us the best match to execute getting this bill passed, right? Because this is what we do as an organization. So it made perfect sense for us to come together and to work on this, which is why we've had so much dialogue with Congress on this. So we are working directly with Congress. That does not mean that we're working with the family. I just want to make that clear so you guys can understand that. The family came out and made a statement themselves that they're not working with anyone, which is like natural. If you're putting in a bill and you're putting in a bill, you can put in a bill by yourself. You don't need anyone to do it. It's just, it takes strategies from the elected officials to get it passed, right? They're not going to waste their time and their energy on putting forth bills they cannot get passed. And the bills, they involve a lot of lobbying strategies, and you need an organization that is registered to do lobbying, which is, in our case, we are registered to do lobbying on behalf of MST survivors, MST veterans, MST service members. That's what we're registered to do. So we're in compliance to do that. It makes us the best fit to push the bill forward because that's our specialty, that's our niche, that is what we do, right? So when you go back to other organizations like, let's say, SWAN or Protect Our Defenders, they focus on helping individual veterans and service members with their resources. So maybe you have a retaliatory discharge, you might go to Protect Your Defenders, and their specialty is to help with that. All of these organizations that are C3s can do advocacy to an extent. However, they cannot do unlimited hours of lobbying, and they cannot do lobbying strategies. So like, it can tell everyone, hey, call your rep, call your rep. And like, that's the extent of it. But now if they're leading actions related to lobbying, and it leads to FaceTime, and it leads to turning over a vote, and they're doing that, there's restrictions that they can lose their C3 status for, and they can lose their tax exemption, and their donors lose their tax benefits, which also means they can lose a lot of major donors and grantors and grant foundations that they have. So when it comes to this effort, because we're not a C3, well, we have a C3, but that's separate. But because MSTM itself is a C4, we can take on this effort because we are a C4 for military sexual trauma, right? We're the military sexual trauma movement. So we can lead this effort and put all of our resources, all of our time, all of our energy into this. And there's no consequences for that for us. So it makes us in the best position out of any organization to do that. Then when it comes to, let's say you have like grassroots community-based people that have not formed into a nonprofit, they will not have the infrastructure to turn over mass votes in the House of Representatives and in Congress. Like you're looking at 500 to 600 votes. So when you're looking at an organization that's already developed, that has the infrastructure, that has the people, that has everything that you need, it's the most viable option to work with us, right? So I just want to make that clear so you guys understand that, because, it takes you to understand the political process to really understand how it works, to understand how all this happens. Like, while we care about the family and while we care about what they're doing in their efforts, I don't want people thinking that we're like holding hand in hand with them when we're not, and I certainly don't want people to have that impression. We're here to move the conversation forward and entitle progress for MST survivors. And as someone who's leading the largest organization in the United States for MST survivors, we have to make decisions that are in our community's best interest. And where we stand right now is lobbying for the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act is in our best interest for our community. So that's why we're participating in this action. That's why we're leading this action. That's why we're working with Congress. But, I want to make that clear for everyone so that they understand where we are, why we're here, and why we're doing this. I think that that's incredibly important for all of you to understand, especially because a lot of you are just getting involved in politics for the first time and you have a lot of questions. So I wanted to make sure that there was clarity on that. So again, sign up. We're going to be sending out an email for Saturday. Make sure you get on that email list. You're going to want to get on it, and we will see you then. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you guys take care.